Please, what is that? Don't tell me. It's all in the Reflexes.
You're listening to All in the Reflexes, an unrepentant vivisection of geek news and culture.
It's all in the Reflexes.
With the comedy rock geek Mikey Mason, the Brack of all trades Jeb Brack, Madison Matricula Roberts, and tech guy Steve.
It's all in the Reflexes.
I know, there's a problem with your face.
Hello and welcome to All in the Reflexes. I am Jeb Brack.
And this is Tech Guy Steve.
And it's just the two of us on here. It's like a flashback to postcards from the dungeon days. It's just me and Steve on the mics tonight.
So retro, so nostalgic.
Much wow. So you are going to be coming to Fear the Con, are you not?
I am. I've already booked my room.
Yep, me too. And I have posted my games. I'm going to be running a Trail of Cthulhu horror game, a Dungeon World game, and GURPS, of course. I'm going to do Steampunk Firefly. I did an episode of that a year or two ago, and I'm going to do another episode. And then, of course, Fiasco. So if you can find a slot you want to join in, and all of you out there, you should come to Fear the Con. There are lots of games there with lots of room, so you should join us out there. It is free to attend, believe it or not. So you should make your way out to St. Louis. June 22nd and 23rd are the days of the con, so come on out and join us.
We've got a link in the show notes. If you go to the con website, you can link over to the
Con Planner.
Con Planner, thank you.
Yeah.
And where, again, you can register for free. You can see what games have currently been posted. You can post your own games, and you can join games, like you can join Jeb's games, for example.
Sure.
And the other ones.
Yep, absolutely. So that's announcement number one. Announcement number two concerns not only myself, but also our own Mikey Mason. The two of us are contributing to a new role-playing book. It's called There and Back Again, an anthology of travel and gaming. And so it's using travel to inspire gaming content and ideas. And so the Kickstarter went live this week. It is being organized by a friend of the podcast, Jason Brick. And if this seems like something that would interest you, we could use your support. So check that out on Kickstarter. We got the link to that. I will be contributing artwork and also an essay, and I believe Mikey's down for a written piece as well. So there you go.
It looks like it'll run through Thursday, April 19th.
Yep. So try and click on over in that. Shoot us a few beans. We can really use it. So there's our announcements for this time around. Personally, I had a really funny opportunity come up that I'm looking forward to. I hope it's really going to follow through. There is an artists collective here in Cincinnati that got in touch with me because they want to do this project, this art project. And the project is that I and another person are going to Dungeon Master D&D campaigns for artists for 3 months. And then at the end of that time, we're going to create art that's based on the experience of gaming together, and then we're going to have an art show, a D&D themed art show. And so
I've never heard of anything like that, and it sounds really cool.
Yeah. We're going to
was it your idea, Jeb? Did you propose this?
No, there's a fellow at this art collective who contacted me. We have mutual friends. And he said that his ulterior motive was that he's always wanted to play D&D, so now he's got a reason to do it. So we're gonna gather a group of about a dozen artists, people who have played before, and also people who all levels of experience with gaming, and we're gonna see what we come up with. So
5th edition.
Yeah, it will be 5th edition. I angled for things like GURPS, but no, he says that they really want it to be Dungeons and Dragons because that's the popular connective tissue that people think of when they think of role-playing games. They don't think...
He's right. It's also kind of the lingua franca of the hobby.
Exactly right. And I can't argue with that. Also, I have been playing a lot of 5th edition these days. I mean, my own group. I've been running for my daughter's friends some 5th edition. So I'm pretty familiar with the rules now. It's an okay edition of D&D. So I don't have that much against it. I mean, it's just
perfectly adequate.
Yeah, exactly. It's D&D. You know, we can do so much with this. Why, you know, I hate to restrict myself, but as long as I've got to, I may as well enjoy it. So
that's right.
Yeah. So
it's funny. I have a coworker whose daughter is in the D&D club, and she's either in or running 3 different games at school.
Whoa.
To me, my mind is blown. There was nothing like that in school when I was, when I was going. So
yeah, well, I actually started the club in my school when I was in high school, but there weren't a whole lot of kids playing, and that's for sure.
Yeah,
but both of my kids have turned out to be avid role players. They really like doing it, and I got to say, it's kind of fun gaming with teenagers because it's very nostalgic of the stupid stuff we used to do. So I just sit back and enjoy it and try not to get in their way too much. Let them have that experience. So there we go. What's going on with you, my friend?
We've had a storm every week for 3 weeks.
Four
4 weeks.
Oh my God.
So they're calling this one, a 4 Easter, not a nor'easter. So, luckily it mostly missed us. We only had a couple inches of wet snow, and it didn't even last the whole day.
Yeah.
My understanding is that Washington D.C. and New York City got slammed. They predicted we were going to hit by a foot, but it kept south of us. We didn't get it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we also got yesterday about 3-4 inches of wet snow that just disappeared in the afternoon.
Okay. So it's the same deal.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's just weird. Like we're recording this on the 22nd, so spring is already here.
Yeah,
and yet it's still snowing. Other than that, I started watching Altered Carbon on Netflix. I have a coworker, in fact, the same coworker whose daughter's in the D&D club. He watched it, ended up watching the whole thing twice, and was super eager to discuss something with me because it's this big plot twist. But he couldn't because of spoilers. So he would be asking me week after week, have you watched it yet? Have you watched it? Have you seen it yet? So I've gotten to episode 7, where they did the big twist, and I really like it. I'm gonna have to sit down and watch the last 3. I don't know. It is interesting enough to hold my attention, but it doesn't really pull me through it. It's like I'm not super eager to jump in there and watch episode 8.
Sure.
But it is a really, really interesting story, and it has really solid science fiction ideas. So if you're kind of looking for kind of transhumanism, far future, but inside of a kind of a noir detective, story structure, it's very cool.
Awesome.
Altered Carbon. Yeah, I can recommend it.
Yeah, I will have to check
not for
it out.
kids. It's very adult.
Yeah. Well, I will have to check that out as one of my next things to watch.
Yeah.
Well, let's get on with some news.
And now for some more bad news. Ready?
Now, the news came in last week that Stephen Hawking had passed away at the age of 76. Of course, I don't think we need to explain that Stephen Hawking was widely regarded as one of the most brilliant people on Earth. Theoretical physicist. He suffered from Lou Gehrig's disease and was confined to a wheelchair and had to use mechanical aid to even speak. But he was considered by many to be the world's greatest living scientist. He had dabbled in just about every kind of thinking there was, including his book, A Brief History of Time. So,
kind of cosmology for the, pop science market.
Sure, to help people wrap their heads around it. So, I think that's a loss to the planet, definitely. But
there's a cute image going around that in one of the Harry Potter movies, there's a scene in which Harry's in the Diagon Alley. He's in that inn.
Oh, uh-huh.
And there's a warlock there at a table drinking coffee, reading Brief History of Time. That's pretty cool.
All pervasive.
Yeah, so Stephen Hawking makes a kind of cameo in the Harry Potter universe.
Yep. So that's our in memoriam for this week. I know it's the week that he passed away, we weren't recording, but I think of all the things that we've brought up on In Memoriam, that one is certainly one of the ones that we really needed to touch on.
Yeah, exactly. Mention it. Yeah.
So
great contributions.
Yeah.
Well, talking about the cosmos, apparently they found a mummy, or at least an alien mummy, definitely the mummified body of an alien in the Atacama Desert. But when they ran the DNA tests on it, it turned out to be a lot less alien, a lot more tiny mutated human.
Yeah.
I put the image in our show notes. It's weird looking. Its head is elongated. Its body is very, very small. It's got a lot of other very strange features, but the DNA definitely says human. So.
Yeah, but who are you going to believe, Steve?
Yeah, big science.
That's right. These are the same guys who want us to believe in a world that's a globe.
That's right.
I mean, if you're going to, what if that's what they look like on the underside of our flat Earth? That there's, so there's a new Wes Anderson movie that's due out pretty soon. Probably out by the time you hear this. Yep. Called Isle of Dogs.
It's kind of the same stop motion stuff that we saw in, what's that?
Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Which I loved, which was great.
Yeah. And we were planning to go see it. The previews make it look really good. It's star-studded, lots of funny voices playing the dogs on this thing. But like everything else in today's world, you can't just have unadulterated, amusement. The LA Times critic Justin Chang has accused Isle of Dogs in his review of cultural appropriation. It's set in a future Japan, but all the dogs speak American English or English, and the human characters all speak Japanese, but the way they handle it evidently is a little problematic. He says it's in the director's handling of the story's human factor that his sensitivity falters, and the weakness for racial stereotyping that has sometimes marred his work comes to the fore. Now, I found out about this when I suggested to my kid, hey, for your birthday, let's go see Isle of Dogs. And she was like, nah, are you sure? I heard, because this one review blew up. I mean, everybody's repeating it. It's like a lead story in a whole bunch of different places. And really reading the review, it's like, well, there's not a whole lot there, in my opinion. It's, he's just saying, well, here's this little problem with this movie that you might want to consider before you go see it.
I will be watching out for this though. So, is he mocking Japanese people or their culture? That's what I want to know. Is he using like a caricature to mock or belittle the culture? And I think if the answer is no, then it's no. So,
right. And well, this got me kind of thinking about cultural appropriation and what it is and when it is and when it isn't. I don't know that from the description in this review that cultural appropriation is the right phrase for what's going on. I mean, racial stereotyping, okay, that I can understand. We should go into more detail about cultural appropriation. I've heard a lot about that on different things recently. It seems to be coming up an awful lot. So I kind of like to hash that out maybe on Problem with Your Face later on.
Absolutely. Where excellent. I can then become unhinged and rant. Spittle-flecked microphone as I rant.
Just be sure to wipe your screen when you're done. Otherwise you get those little rainbow things.
That's right. Well, speaking of ranting, there's an interesting court case in England in which a YouTuber, he goes by the name of Count Dankula, his real name is Mark Meacham, was charged, tried, and convicted of a hate crime in England for a YouTube video. In the YouTube video, he takes his dog, which is Buddha, and he kind of trains the dog to lift a leg when he says Sieg Heil. And then every time Meacham says gas the Jews, the dog does this trick, and he does this over and over and over again on the video. So it is 100% offensive. It is offensive.
Yeah.
His contention is that it was a joke, and it was obvious a joke. He's not alt-right. He's not a Nazi. He wasn't advocating Nazi premises or propaganda. I mean, he has a history of being very like pro-communist, anti-capitalistic, not on the right end of the spectrum.
Sure.
But he's also crude, not funny. He said he was trying to really, really, really annoy his girlfriend. So by teaching the dog to raise a paw every time he says gas the Jews, was specifically aimed at annoying his girlfriend and then others. Now the problem is that England does not have a First Amendment, and so there is no protection for speech. And so again, this is not a matter of like YouTube finding him or demonetizing. This is the law. The English courts found him guilty and will sentence him to some sort of punishment. It could be a fine or whatever, but he was convicted of a crime. And so that's obviously had a huge ripple effect in YouTube land for other people who speak about, why is this conduct or speech against the law, but not that? Who gets to decide why him doing this stupid trick with a dog falls under the hate crime laws, but someone else making extreme political statements doesn't? So. Right.
Yeah. And a lot of people forget that about England is that they don't have that constitution that we have. And so there's not been this fight over what's hate speech and what's not. They're working it out in different ways. And this is one of the shots
you'd be
fired
surprised.
in
Canada does not have one.
battle.
Germany obviously doesn't have one. I'm going to argue that most countries in the world do not have the equivalent of a constitutional right to free speech. They may have principles of free speech, but it's not enshrined at the highest level of the law. And so, since that essentially that's the First Amendment. That was the first thing the founders amended the Constitution. Rights, So, yep. And so that was the first thing that they realized needed to be defended was the right to free speech. But what they were talking about was the right to speak out against oppression, because that was being suppressed at the time. They were not talking about, teaching your pug to exactly
Heil Hitler. But
we could talk about it in the problem with your face. I have a lot to say about this. In general, if I can give a one-sentence summary, it's the rights. When you stand up for someone else's right, you're also standing up for your own. Because today, they're the ones who are being attacked for their speech, but tomorrow it's going to be you. And that's always the problem, is people feel, but if I can only stop you from saying what you want, then that's fine. Oh, wait, oh my God, someone's stopping me. I didn't see that coming. I'm like, yes, we did. Yes. Anyways.
Yeah. So in the same category as hate speech is the Justice League movie. In my opinion, that was a hate crime against comic book lovers. And it is official now. It is officially the lowest grossing DC Universe movie. How do you take all the characters that you love, that everybody has their own audience, put them together?
70 years of goodwill, right?
Right. And put them together. Like the Avengers was the blockbuster where you took all the franchises and put them together, and all the fans came. You put them together for Justice League, and it goes nowhere. I mean, Wonder Woman is still the top-grossing DC Universe movie for the reason that it was a really good movie. So it just goes to prove that even if you put all that stuff together, if you make a crappy movie, you're not gonna make as much money. That's just how
sad.
It is. Yeah, it is. Especially since, the article that I was reading was saying that I thought Batman versus Superman was a much better movie than Justice League, or that Justice League was a much better movie, but it still is lower. I'm just like, whose poop smells better?
Ironically, that's the movie in which Snyder had to step away because of the family issue, and what's his face?
Yeah. Joss Whedon.
Yeah, thank you. Joss Whedon stepped in and made some changes. So some of the parts which we're pretty sure were Whedon's were some of the best. The inter-character dialogue lines, some of the humor, some of the kind of more humanistic aspects of it. were fantastic. The fights got boring. Like I just wasn't that interested in the CGI battles. So again, I really wish that they could, figure that stuff out, that kind of formula where you have to care about the characters. You actually have to want to watch them interact with each other. Yeah. And they have to want to be doing what they're doing. You can't have all of the characters kind of like hate themselves in the world, But there were definitely these scenes between them, which I thought were just brilliant. Obviously not enough to carry the whole movie, but,
Sure. So, we'll see what they come up with next, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about comic book villains. Like,
okay.
Zuckerberg.
Oh, you mean Lex Luthor?
Yeah. So, because of this whole thing that's come out with Cambridge Analytica, kind of, quote unquote, stealing data from 50 million Americans and then using it for targeted ads, including fake news ads and other ways of kind of twisting people up right before the election. All this stuff is what's in the news. There's a huge push to drop social media. Many millions of people are deleting their Facebook account. Facebook stock has dropped something like $5 billion in the last couple of weeks. And so what they've done is hide or obfuscate their delete my account button.
Oh.
So it's extremely hard to get it. And then Instagram has removed theirs entirely. So in Instagram, you can deactivate your account, but you cannot delete it, which means they have your data. In Facebook, it's still possible to delete your account, but boy, do you have to dig for it and go through a lot of hoops to find it.
Wow.
Yeah. We've got a really good...
that does not seem like the best move to make, as to trap your customers there. Although, we're not the customers. We're the users.
The product.
We're the product, yeah.
Yeah, someone gave a really good analogy a while ago. They said, to the pig, the farmer seems... beneficent. It's free food, free shelter, free care, free medicine. Like, man, this farmer's bending over backwards to give all of us pigs everything we want.
Right.
Like, right, because you're not the customer, you're the product he sells.
Yeah, that's right. Wait, hey, has anybody seen Bob? Did he delete his Big Book account?
Yep.
No, I haven't seen Bob in ages, but boy, that bacon sure smells good.
Yeah, we're the bacon. I've also linked a really good Computer File. It's a YouTube channel, Computer File episode about social media, your data, the kind of a from a technical perspective, how these companies got the data in the first place. It was super interesting to how they did it. Again, super short summary. It's those stupid quizzes. Like, which celebrity do you look like? Or can we make refrigerator poetry from your last 50 posts?
Yeah, that's right. What Hogwarts house do you belong to?
You're right, because in order to get that data, you have to give them permission. And once you give them permission, they can then use the data for whatever they want, which includes reselling it and passing it on.
Yep.
And so that's what Cambridge Analytica did, is they went to, I guess in one case, a professor, and then in the other case, an app writer, and said, you already are gathering this information, we'll gladly buy it from you. And so, like, you may never have deliberately gone to Cambridge Analytica and said, yes, you may mine my records for political usage, but they ended up with it anyways. So.
Well, yeah, because Facebook sells that to anybody who, wants it.
Yep.
So. Yep. Well, I mean, I'm of the mind that I can't believe people are surprised that that's what's going on. I mean, I kind of thought that, of course, that was what was going on. I mean, that's the whole reason I don't do those quizzes in the first place. But, I mean...
I think what this has highlighted, though, is that it's not just a kind of... it's marketing, and you get some more targeted ads, or, some faceless corporation now knows what kind of underwear you prefer to buy or something. Right. I think when it became that this is being kind of used and abused by third parties, specifically to alter the outcome of elections... That's when people are treating it, dead serious.
Yeah, because it wasn't marketing so much as let's send them content that's not true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, definitely an underhanded use, but again, I'm not terribly surprised. I guess I'm just getting very cynical about it.
Yeah.
I can't see it going away. I mean, I can't see Facebook disappearing. Too many people rely on it. For communication purposes with their families.
They got something like 1.1 billion users.
Yeah. So I think that it's not going away unless something better comes to replace it. And the stuff that's been out there to try and replace it is not doing so hot. So I think Facebook's going to take a hit, but they're going to make some changes and they'll come back.
Yep.
So, unlike that bridge in Florida, which does not look like it's coming back. Did you see the video of that bridge collapse?
I did. It was caught on a dash cam. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh man, just horrifying. It was a pedestrian bridge that was under construction. It wasn't, in use at the time by pedestrians, but there were construction workers on it. You can see them flying off as it collapses. But anyway, crushed up to 10 vehicles. 6 people have died and 10 went to the hospital. The bridge when it was finished, was going to look like a cable-stayed bridge, with the cables from a tower that were supposed to hold it up.
Yep, we have a beautiful one of those here in Boston called the Zakum Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
It's usually listed on the world's top 10 most beautiful bridge list.
Yeah.
Where it has that big central kind of concrete support with the cables running to, all the edges. And
yeah,
it's a good look. It's popular, and obviously it works very well.
Right. If it's real. Because as it turns out, the design of that was just to make it look pretty. They weren't real. They weren't real cables. They were pipes, and they were going to be bolted to concrete with end plates. So it wasn't. Those things weren't going to give much support. The cause of the collapse is still under investigation. What was it that caused it to fall? But the communications before it collapsed. Because an engineer called in a week before saying, I'm seeing some cracks here. And nope, nobody did anything, and it just came right down.
Lives, yeah.
Yep. So it turns out we got to learn the lessons of engineering every single time, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll find out what the case is here, but there are real consequences for engineers who don't do their job, or engineering firms who sign off on projects that aren't safe.
Sure. Sure.
Anyways. On a much lighter note, a Japanese company has made a robot that throws free throws, basketball free throws.
Okay.
It doesn't do anything else. It stands there, kind of looks like a weird Cylon, and just throws absolutely perfect, 100% accurate free throws from the free throw line. And they put it against a shooting competition with a bunch of human basketball players. And of course it won, because even though they're good, they will eventually miss. And it just won't. It judges the distance correctly and throws perfect free throws. So,
well, what's to judge? If it's at the free throw line, it's 10 foot 6 inches from the basket. So that's a constant right there. It just parks. Does it walk up to the line?
No, I don't know. It just seems to have been positioned there by a technician.
See that? Come on. If they make a walking basketball player bot that walks up to the line, adjusts itself, picks up a ball, and then shoots free throws, that'll be a little more impressive. But if you're just gonna position the thing, that's.
I know.
You can make a robot to do the same thing. That's why we have assembly line robots, is because they do exactly the same thing, exactly the same way every time.
Yeah. So watch the video.
It's fun.
It's
fun to watch.
Because the first half of the video is just hype. Then you watch the actual throw. What I wanted to see is, does it at least have the ability to judge and aim? Can they keep moving it around?
Right.
Even if it doesn't walk,
impressive.
Can they drag it over and have it readjust? And they didn't show that.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of lame.
Yeah. And when it can respond to heckling. Airball.
Can it compete with a golden retriever?
That's right.
There's no rules in basketball against, right?
There's nothing in the rule book says you can't have a robot.
So there's our news. Do you have a trailer for us to trash and or tout?
This will make for one epic trailer.
I do indeed. On my Facebook feed today, data people take note. A friend of mine posted the trailer for Deadpool 2. This is the second trailer that's come out for it. This trailer made me laugh.
Yep.
I want to see this movie. I'm kind of bummed that this is owned by Fox, instead of Disney, so that Deadpool's not going to be in the Infinity War. But I think this is a good, funny, dirty alternative to the Avengers series. Although Josh Brolin seems to be every supervillain ever, because not only is he playing what's his name?
Cable.
In Deadpool, but he's also, of course, playing the big bad in Infinity War. So it looks like there's some continuity there. But
that's weird.
Yeah. So anyway, lots of callbacks to the first Deadpool, his blind landlady, the cab driver who drives him around, the X-Men, lots of snark. It looks fun. It looks just as fun as the last one, so I'm totally down for that.
Cool. I watched it too. To me, it's the first non-joke trailer, because he had a couple where he's painting what's his face?
Oh, Bob Ross. Yeah,
the Bob Ross
painting. And or the one where he was changing in the phone booth.
Yeah.
While a crime is committed behind him, and yeah.
And he gets there too late. This is the first one that actually looked and felt like an actual movie trailer, in which they showed you scenes from the movie.
Yeah.
And I was excited. I thought it looked pretty cool.
Yep.
Funny, cool. I really hope it's as good as the first one. Yeah,
me too. I hope they didn't lose that.
So I guess we're touting it. We're not trashing this one.
Yeah, this is trailer touting. That's exactly right.
How about reviews? Have you reviewed anything from the days of yore?
This is your review? Well, you're late.
Okay, I'm going to take you back to a time when lapels were wide and when music was totally far out. I'm talking 1974, guys. Wow. And there was a Charles Bronson movie. I believe it came out after The Magnificent Seven and after The Great Escape. But this was Charles Bronson, one of his first starring roles where he carried the movie. It's called Mr. Majestic, which sounds really, it sounds way more overblown than it is, because this is an action movie about a pissed off watermelon farmer. And it's really pretty good. I was really surprised. I was expecting serious cheesiness, because it's of the 70s factor, right? But this was written by Elmore Leonard, who is one of my favorite writers of crime and adventure fiction. And he actually wrote this script for this movie and then went back after the movie was a hit and wrote the novel, which was the reverse for him. He usually sold his novels and wrote them into movies. But the action in this movie is really, really great. I mean, this is practical car stunts. They're driving cars cross country in Colorado, and boy, I read that they were largely unmodified cars, and so when you see them do these bumps and these jumps, you feel that stuff, man.
Wow!
You remember how the suspension on those cars in the 70s would just kind of bounce?
Yep, and you kind of float around.
Yeah, exactly. There's this scene where he's in the back of the pickup truck that's being jumped over these jumps, and they have a camera in the back, and the stunt man is just flying around in the bed of this truck, and you feel every bit of it. So, now, it's still a 1970s movie, so the pacing is a little different, and the styles are definitely different, but it's not so bad that it's distracting like it can be in some things. So the thing of it is that what makes it great is that all this guy is trying to do is harvest his watermelon crop, and the bad guys keep getting in his way, and they finally destroy his watermelon crop, and that's when he goes to take revenge. Right?
It's an unlikely hero, if I ever heard one.
Yeah, but of course he was an Army Ranger instructor and things like that, so he's got the skills. He's a badass. But see, at the end of it, he's beat the bad guys, but he still doesn't have his watermelon crop, and he doesn't get reimbursed for that. So he's lost his land. He didn't get his crop in, and so his reason for doing all this is gone. But he drives away with the girl, and he's happy, so it's okay. And that was kind of a bummer. I was like, really? You know, I thought there should have been some stolen money that he could get, you know, to see him through till next season with the watermelons.
Right.
So that it's a happy ending for him. But, you know, good hour and a half action movie. Charles Bronson looking his best. A lot of pretty girls. It's, you know, it's a decent old movie. And I can't believe that 1974 qualifies as an old movie, but it does. It does. So there you go.
I've never heard of it, never seen it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I had read the book first because I love Elmore Leonard. So when I saw the movie, I was like, oh, I'll check that out. Pretty good. Pretty good. So
Very
there you go,
cool.
Mr. Majestic.
What a name for a
I know.
watermelon farmer.
How about you, Steve? You watching some weird anime for us?
スティーブはとってもくだらない人でアニメを見るんです。What weird anime is Steve watching this week?
I finished Yuri on Ice. This was recommended by Madison, and I actually loved it. If you had told me a year ago I'd watch an anime about two guys doing figure skating, I would have slapped you and called you a fool. No robots, no vampires, no magic, no aliens, nothing like that.
Wow.
It's actually completely charming, really interesting characters, very engaging. It's about Yuri, who's a Japanese figure skater. He's 23. He's had one of the worst seasons of his life. His dog dies. You know, he's given up his coach. Comes kind of home out of shape, and he's thinking about quitting. And then stuff happens. Like this video who he doesn't expect goes viral, and everybody falls in love with his performance that he did by himself. And this famous Russian figure skater named Victor sees it, and Victor shows up and says, "I'm going to be your coach. I'm going to get you to win this, Grand Prix final." It was fantastic. I cannot tell you how I wanted to see it. I'd watch an episode, be eager to see the next episode. Again, even though it's talking about figure skating, they would try to explain how the scoring works. They try to explain how this Grand Prix of 8 international competitions, you have to win 3 of them, and how they select who, but it was just fantastic.
Wow.
The only complaint I have, take it for what it is that it was full of homoerotic overtones, but they wouldn't actually take that step and say, this is a gay couple.
Well, did they get nosebleeds for each other?
No. And again, they had none of that kind of goofy anime tropes like that. I've seen a lot of gay characters in anime who they're just played up as a total joke. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. So they can't show a gay man without having him wear rouge, fake eyelashes, and super red lipstick.
Camping it up.
Yes, as if you had to dress like a woman to be a gay man, which is ridiculous, right?
Right.
In this one, they don't do anything like that. But the characters seem very gay. You think they're going in for a kiss. It was just a hug.
No.
There's even one point, it's a little bit of a spoiler. Yuri wants to get Victor some kind of gift to say, thank you so much for taking a year out of your, performing to be my coach. And, so he buys them both gold rings. But don't think that these are engagement rings because it's worn on the right hand. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
So there's a name for this. Sometimes, critics call it gay coding, where a character is coded gay, but they won't actually say it's gay. So
sure.
They'll get a lot of fan attention from gay fans, but they won't turn off the mainstream audience because, wink, wink, he's not really gay.
Right.
I'm putting a link to a TV Tropes article where they call it ambiguously gay.
Uh-huh.
We saw something like that with Xena Warrior Princess, where a lot of lesbians were holding them up as a great example of a lesbian couple. And at some point, the writers were deliberately playing into that. They loved the idea of having this dedicated fan base who would watch every week, but they would never actually come out and say Xena and Gabrielle were a couple.
Yeah, it seems a little disingenuous to play for that, just by making sly hints. But this is Japan we're talking about, right? I mean,
right.
So there may be different, probably know more about it than I do. You've been watching some of those things on YouTube about Japan.
Yeah,
but
they don't seem as at least like media wise is not as open about especially homosexual men.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I've read both things. I looked it up afterward. I love the series. If you can tolerate that level of deliberate ambiguity and just take it for what it is, it's a fantastic relationship between these two men. And you get to see fantastic figure skating and the music, and I mean, it's really good. It also turned out to be one of the most popular series in Japan the year it came out. In fact, it was so popular, and figure skating itself is a huge popular sport in Japan, that some actual figure skaters skated to the music they produced for the series, for the anime. It was just, very well done. I was saying, so I read articles about it afterward, and some articles said it's a fantastic example of an anime treating male homosexuality with a level of dignity, and not a joke. But then other articles then complained about the thing I just said, where they're like, yes, but they don't actually have them come out and become a couple or ever kiss each other.
Sure.
And so so you can see both sides of the argument. I think if you know that going in. But I'm telling you, the characters were compelling. You honestly want to know what was going to happen next. And the rivalries and the friendships and the scoring. And I'm like, I really, really enjoyed it.
That's rare enough, even with the action ones.
Exactly. My understanding is that they're going to produce a movie, like they call it OVA. So the series is done, but they're going to produce a full-length animated movie that'll come out. We'll continue the story or something. So if I get access to it, I'll watch it. I don't know if I'll be allowed to watch it on Crunchyroll, but
sure. Well, we will keep you up to date on that. But as for right now, it looks like we're going to go and talk about cultural appropriation. And so we're going to be talking about stealing that ambiguously gay figure skating from the Japanese and making it totally American. But if you want to join us over there, in Problem with Your Faceland, it's pretty easy. Steve, tell them how.
We recommend everyone go to our website. It's aitrpodcast.com. Links in our show notes to everything we mentioned, and to our social media, which is Twitter and Facebook. You evil Facebook, so we can steal your data. And Patreon. You join Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month, you get access to all of our bonus content.
There you go. So, that's it for this week's All in the Reflexes. Until next week, I'm Jeb Brack.
This is Tech Guy Steve.
And we'll talk to you soon.